Hello and welcome to the program where we make fun of sales, training, and promotional films of the past. My name is Jason Reid, here as always with my co-host Chris May. And Chris, today we have a film that is just, it's surrounded in secrecy. I don't know really if it's a propaganda film, a training film, really what it is.
Well, what it's done is it's really opened up our what we offer. It's opened up our palette. So you've seen we've done training videos, sales videos, promotional videos. Well, who knows? We may have just accidentally tripped into a propaganda film. We may have tripped into a cry for help film. I really don't know. I really don't know what we got into here. But it is, if nothing else, it is steeped in intrigue.
Indeed. And it's simply called Small Town.
Mm.
I was born in a small town.
Oh, you were?
Or was that my friend John Cougar Mellencamp? Yeah, that was him.
That's right. It was John Cougar Mellencamp.
It's not so very different from thousands like it all over the United States. Smaller, perhaps, than some you've known, yet large enough to...
Smaller, but largish, but yet on the small side of large.
It has a modern drugstore where you can find hundreds of items from aspirin and razor blades to Cokes and chocolate sundaes.
How bizarre.
That would make it modern.
Hangout for the younger set.
Yes, the young people who are apparently 45. And eating melted sundaes.
And that great American institution, the jukebox.
The guy that put the money in the jukebox looked like he was in a friggin' barroom brawl before he got to the soda shop.
Store.
Oh, hello. Who's this?
Featuring the latest spring fashions.
This is pretty action-packed so far.
A hardware store.
Yeah, the commentary is outstanding.
On gardening tools today.
Oh,
yep.
There's a sale on gardening tools. Thanks again for the update.
A church. Strangely enough, its doors are always locked.
Only God is allowed inside.
And God does not want riffraff. He wants to be alone with his thoughts.
Even a casual observer would note the utter cleanliness of the streets and houses.
Because usually American streets are filthy and filled with garbage.
That everything in town was
a lot of them.
new.
It really depends on where you are.
It had sprung up overnight.
They did spring up overnight. That's called urban sprawl.
Mm-hmm.
A closer examination of the inhabitants would reveal that all of them seemed to be in their early 20s.
And trying to figure out how parking meters work.
Businessmen, mechanics.
What is on his head?
Oh, that's an old school hat. It's like a beanie.
Even more unusual is the absence of older people.
Okay, I'm starting to get a bit creeped out here now, Jason.
And children.
It's got a Twilight Zone vibe.
And children. First he says the inhabitants. He doesn't call them people. He calls them inhabitants. Is this an alien race?
I don't know, but there's not any children, so maybe they're all gay or sterile.
There's no children, there's no old people, they're only 20, and they're inhabitants. This sounds like Logan's Run.
And busy enough.
I'm in the mood for something crispy.
It's dead, yet busy. I'm in the mood for something crispy. I just noticed that in the background.
Center around the campus of a small college that is located in the...
Apparently all the men wear exactly the same gray suit.
Well, it's a small town, clearly at the beginning. You remember.
Well, but they have those high fashion stores. But I guess, you know, if you're a guy, it's basically brown or gray or black.
All over the country. Although they may come from different walks of life.
That woman does not look like she's in her 20s. I'm sorry, I'm not judging. Neither does that guy.
And determined.
He looks like his son is 20.
We turn now to the subject of motor travel in the United States of America.
Well, that was always my favorite subject in school.
As you drive from city to city, that few Americans any longer use the centralized hotels.
Okay, is this a story about extraterrestrials that just landed here?
I'm thinking so. I'm waiting for the Alf puppet to come in.
Hey, Willie!
Motor hotels, motor courts, and the like.
And the like.
But first, before going into this subject more in more detail,
more detail,
in which you will see demonstrations of devices which have been used successfully in the past, as well as some of the latest models that are available.
Wait a minute. He's talking about motels and devices that have been used in the past. What the hell is he talking about? A red alert.
I guess we'll find out.
People who go to motels use devices. We'll show you them. I don't want to see.
This is a typical American motel.
Sarah, I couldn't even say
Yeah.
that word.
Well, a motel isn't a surreptitious listing device, so I'm confused.
Still a lot of dead air here. Lots of dead air, I've
basic
noticed.
mode of transportation. Motels have become very popular because of the luxurious facilities that most motels
Luxurious?
offer.
Motels? Luxurious?
Even those who
I
travel
guess
by rail
in
or
1960,
air seem to
maybe.
prefer them
These
to the
extraterrestrials
ordinary
have not
hotels
actually
that
been
are
to
found near
a motel then.
transportation terminals.
Uh-uh.
As you can see, the interior of this room offers
like a
many
David Lynch
opportunities
film.
for the use of surreptitious listening devices.
Oh, yeah, because that was in the design.
A few years ago,
Let's
the only
see. I'm
devices available
thinking
to
We're
us
calling
listening
the-
devices.
were tiny
We're calling this the
microphones,
Norman Bates
which could be
room.
installed behind the walls or under the floors. However, the installation of these microphones took
Apparently
time,
they had key parties.
and the accompanying wire made
Okay,
them
now
susceptible
what's
to
going
discovery.
on? This is not right.
Today, we are no longer faced with that problem.
Oh,
To the
well then why are we
unpracticed
talking about
eye,
it?
there is nothing suspicious about this room.
Except all the
Nevertheless,
wires.
These men are, for all practical purposes, speaking directly into a microphone.
How can that be?
As part
Why
of the
would that be?
decor, most motel rooms display inexpensive lithographs enclosed
Oh.
in a
Ooh,
simple
there was a disdain there for the inexpensive
Yeah, it's like-
lithograph.
This one, however,
These hotels
is
have
used to
cheap shit on the
camouflage
walls.
one of the simplest devices available.
More dead air.
Okay, yeah, we get that's a
Enclosed within
picture.
the frame, behind the print, is
Ah.
a complete battery-operated microphone and transmitter.
So this was
There are
Siri
no
before
wires or
Siri
buttons visible.
was ever
The
existed.
batteries can operate continuously for more
Jason,
than
write
200
this down in
hours and are
invention
easily
idea
obtained.
series
Reception
that
is usually
are
excellent.
designed
No
to be
matter where the
photos
voices are
or
located in the room.
cheap lithographs in a frame.
Exactly.
I have the estimated daily production of 3.
Now this is definitely a conversation that you want recorded.
For sure. And you want it on a record.
Estimated unit cost? Second one down is
I like how that plate is smoking. I'm assuming there's a cigarette on it.
There better be a cigarette on that.
Not only can a
The,
conversation be
the
plainly
alien
heard,
smoking plate.
but a permanent record made.
Yes,
that can be
because I
used
want to listen back to this again and again
Simply
and
by using
again.
this small tape recorder in conjunction with the rest of the equipment. However, entry is not necessary in order to hear what is being said within a room.
But a cigarette is.
If the wall is so thick that the sound waves are blurred or otherwise indistinct, a long metal probe can be attached to the mic
Oh,
and pushed through the inner wall to the
Oh,
inside of the
wow.
wall of the other room.
Filthiest
like a
dialogue ever.
The
this sounds like a
vibrations then
a
pass
different
from the
instructional
wall
video now.
Through the probe to the microphone. Clearly
speak
reproducing
into the
any
mic.
sound
Speak into the mic.
emanating from the next room. These are some of the tools of your trade. Weapons of democracy. Learn them well.
What?
Wow. It's a rather fascist way to end your democracy film.
That sounded very Trumpian to me.
Oh, good.
Weapons of democracy.
I hope we get to see this guy go all the way across the room.
Oh,
and,
look at him.
Yeah,
Way to be
Put the screen
prepared,
down
buddy.
that's a good use of film time.
You will have an opportunity to try each of the devices which you saw in the film. We'll take each of them in turn.
We won't show it to you. We'll just tell you that we're going to do that.
Practice the different
It's show
instruments.
and tell time, kids.
He must be an alien. He's just he looked at his wristwatch the wrong way.
Wow.
Good. We see
This
them get
is
up and go for
This
lunch.
is no ordinary college. The curriculum offers
Nope, this is a
conventional
boring
courses in
college.
American history, geography, and chemistry, plus some in photographic technique,
And how to wear gray suits.
encrypting and decoding, and lab courses in the use of explosives.
What? What?
Another one of my favorite subjects.
I didn't take that in college. I took radio broadcast. Probably why I didn't take explosives.
Yeah. Why are all the students? They look like they're 50.
They're
supposed to be in their 20s.
Exams in the world.
It's because they're all
They
smoking.
are a special group. They have to be. The rest of the town's population is just as special.
Special.
The entire town is a duplicate of what you would find all over the United States.
Duplicate.
It has modern stores, familiar brand names.
But do they have Post
The
or
menus
Kellogg's
offer
Raisin Bran?
nothing but standard American
Good call.
dishes. The theater shows the latest Hollywood productions. But it's completely isolated
Oh, the
from
roads
other
suck.
population centers.
He just said it's isolated from population centers. This is a cult.
Maybe.
And entirely
Whoa.
surrounded by barbed wire and armed guards.
Dum,
And a lot of
dum.
Russian. Is that a nightclub? What the hell happened?
Plot twist. I don't know. Let's see if I can read that sign there.
Go
My
for
Russian's a little rusty, but oh, okay. It says Copacabana welcome,
It is
I
located
think.
in the central Ukraine, one of the southern Soviet Socialist republics.
Well, maybe not. I know they serve Heineken. They got the little red star.
Huge school designed to train Soviet youth how to live, think, and
I love how they got, American cameras into this very secret
they drive
American
Soviet
cameras.
school that's in the middle of nowhere.
American traffic
They got a
regulations.
complete American film crew in here.
They follow the
They
latest
just blended right in.
from sports to Hollywood scandals.
Yeah, because that's important.
I like Manhunt and Escape. Those are probably the two most popular magazines there.
Their English is not only flawless, but they specialize in dialects and
So-
accents.
Their Russian
How do-
accent is really good, by the way.
How do we know that our voiceover guy's not Russian too then?
That's true.
Coach the students how to conduct themselves.
So is this telling us that
Or
the
even
Soviets
taught how to
were
lie
working on a
like
way to
America.
infiltrate America?
Yes, believe it or not. They were teaching their spies how not to pay with gas with, livestock and use a credit card instead.
That'll get
Only
you caught quickly when you hand over a chicken.
Is the fence that surrounds it. Winita,
And just,
School for Spies.
oh, that's what it says. You were wrong, Jason.
Ah.
USSR.
He should have paused. Small town U.S. SR.
SR.
Well, that was educational.
Started
maybe?
nowhere and went nowhere. It was like Usual Suspects, though. It was a big surprise at the end, but the rest of it was completely inconsequential.
I like how they handwrite out the.
And
The end.
someone's gonna lift it up.
Okay, Bob, lift the paper now.
Lift the paper. Lift the paper. We don't got that technology. What do you think we look like? Star Wars here?
And it's written in blood. One. So, Chris, that was quite an experience. And
What
yeah,
in the hell just happened?
I'm still trying to figure out who is the audience for this. Is it spies? Because you're not really learning a lot about spycraft. Is it meant to be shown to politicians to say, hey, this is what they're up to over in the Soviet Union, we need more money? Is it meant to show scientists and stuff who frequent these motels not to talk? Like, I really don't know what it was meant for.
I don't know who this was targeted towards. Do you know what it almost looks like? It looks like it's possibly a propaganda film to get the American people scared even more about the Soviets. Because this was, what was the year that this? It
This
looks like
is
it was in the
1960.
50s. Oh, 1960.
Yes.
Okay. So we have been 15 years since the end of World War II. And this is about as deep into the Cold War as we've got. We only have the Cuban Missile Crisis to go at this point in history. So it is right at a fever pitch. So maybe this was just to alert American. You know what this also could have done? This is a scare tactic. I wonder if this had a background effect or a kickback effect where people were starting to look at each other and wonder if each other are Soviet spies, because they said they look like us, they prepare like us, they talk like us, and they actually even have dialects. So this really could have backfired.
Yeah. Now, You know, I always do some research into these films. So let me tell you about what we do know about the film. It's not much. So we know it was.
That's true.
Yeah, it was produced in 1960, and according to the credits, it was produced by the Sandia Corporation, which I looked up. It's now Sandia Laboratories, and this is part of the American Atomic Energy Commission at the time. So that's why I'm wondering, maybe it was meant to show to nuclear scientists who were going out to motels and talking about God knows what on the phone, because Sandia was formerly part of Los Alamos. So these were all people. This is basically shot by the people connected with nuclear weapons.
Okay,
in the United States.
First of all, sandia in Spanish is watermelon, so I immediately find that hilarious. It's the Watermelon Project. Yeah, are nuclear physicists and nuclear engineers going to motels that much? Like, I don't understand why the emphasis was put on where people stay, and we have to. And there's a chance that they're setting up spy equipment. It could have been just be careful where you go. Period. Because even if you think you're escaping by going to something as innocuous as a motel, they're looking for us there because we have intelligence that says that this is their training program.
Yeah, and it was just so bizarre with that film within a film, because it's almost like the middle film is a training film. I actually did edit out part of that because it was kind of long and boring, but it didn't really make any difference. It's not like it told you that much more about what was happening with the listening device. It was just showing a couple of different devices. So I'm still kind of confused why they did this. Well, but let's face it, sometimes people just got money from the government or some, section head somewhere, do us a film about such and such, and they just slam something together, whether it really worked that well or not.
The thing I don't understand is why the setup in the small town with the main street and the women shopping in the grocery store. What does that have to do with anything? Basically, if it said anything, it is you can't trust anybody, even the people you see at the local grocery store, which to me is a massive scare tactic. Yeah. And it's a propaganda opportunity that could have wildly backfired.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, the other thing I do know about this film is it wasn't meant for the general public. It was actually a classified film that has become declassified, obviously. And
quite.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is they talk about Winitsa in the Ukraine being this school for spies. And obviously they shot it in the U.S. They were trying to pretend like they shot it in the Soviet Union, but obviously they didn't go into the Soviet Union and to get those. To get
we were
footage.
Just joking about that, folks.
But there is absolutely no reference in any of the declassified KGB documents that there was ever a school like this in Winitsa, Ukraine. Now, there may have been elsewhere, and certainly in popular culture in the 60s. If you watch the Avengers, if you watch Secret Agents, they all have storylines around these sort of schools for spies that are out in the middle of nowhere. So it was almost a common cultural trope. Before we go, just want to let you know our next live is going to be April 22nd. We don't have a topic yet, but for anybody for anybody who has been to our lives, they're a lot of fun. Yeah, so hope to see you there. Check out our back catalog. And until then, on behalf of Chris May, I'm Jason Reid. We'll see you soon.
Take care, y'all.